The signal comes back. That should make the situation better. An operator confirms the carrier. Another checks the timing window. The spacecraft is still answering. For a moment, it looks like control has been restored. Then the numbers are checked again. The response arriving on the screen left Voyager hours ago. The spacecraft has already moved on. The signal is real. The problem is when it is real. Hours separate the transmission from the confirmation. By the time the answer arrives, it only describes a version of the spacecraft that no longer exists in the present moment. If the signal is real, control should feel restored. But the signal only proves that the spacecraft heard something long ago. Voyager continues outward, while the network waits. Another status update arrives. The spacecraft appears healthy. The link appears stable. Yet every possible correction now depends on information that is already old. The recovery effort has not failed. It has fallen behind. The system is still operating. Commands still travel. Responses still return. But between every question and every answer sits a growing distance that nobody can remove. The mission is alive. On the screens, telemetry keeps arriving from a spacecraft that is always several hours ahead of the people trying to control it. The numbers look normal, but normal does not mean current. Voyager is now moving through interstellar space, far beyond the planets. Every status update confirms that it is still operating. But each status update is also old. The system keeps answering from where it was hours ago. At first, that sounds like a communication problem. Then the numbers create a different problem. The spacecraft reports healthy conditions. Stable power, stable systems, stable transmission. If stable data reduces uncertainty, confidence should increase. Instead, the delay becomes impossible to ignore. The more accurate the report appears, the more clearly it reveals that nobody is observing the spacecraft as it exists now. An operator begins comparing timelines instead of measurements. Another adjusts a prediction model to estimate what may have changed since the report was sent. Monitoring slowly becomes interpretation. Not because the data is wrong, because the data is late. The signal keeps arriving, exactly as expected, while the spacecraft continues moving farther away from the moment being reported. On the screens, clean telemetry lines continue updating. What they describe is real. It is just no longer present. And the people following those numbers are beginning to understand that they are not watching Voyager. They are watching what Voyager used to be. A fix can only target the spacecraft they last understood.
As we project forward,
The discussion shifts from monitoring to decision-making. A command package sits under review. Simulations run again. Small assumptions are checked one more time before anyone commits to an upload. The spacecraft is old. Its power is limited. If something goes wrong, nobody can reach out and correct it in real time. The numbers are the best information available. They are also outdated. Waiting feels safer. The team can review more data, refine the model, reduce uncertainty. But while they wait, the delay grows. The spacecraft keeps moving beyond the moment they understand. A command is finally approved. The transmission leaves Earth. And then nothing happens. Not immediately. No confirmation arrives. No correction appears. No indication that the change helped or harmed anything. The system may obey perfectly. The problem is that nobody can see the result yet. For hours, the mission exists in two versions at once. One version is the spacecraft carrying out instructions somewhere in the dark. The other is the spacecraft represented on screens back on Earth. An operator updates the expected response time and moves on to the next procedure. The room keeps working. The weight keeps growing. And somewhere beyond interstellar space, a command is already taking effect on hardware that can no longer be repaired if the assumption behind it was wrong. The spacecraft still answers, but command no longer feels like command. A signal lock is maintained. Telemetry continues arriving. The verification process completes without obvious problems. On paper, the mission remains operational. The spacecraft keeps responding. It keeps transmitting. It keeps surviving within increasingly narrow limits of power and capability. Every successful response confirms that the mission is still alive. And every successful response arrives after another stretch of distance has already been added. A working spacecraft should strengthen trust. This one requires trust while steadily reducing the ability to verify anything in the present. The room adapts. Commands take longer to approve. Assumptions are checked twice. Predictions are compared against older predictions. Small delays begin appearing inside routine decisions. Meanwhile, the spacecraft continues operating according to its own timeline. Power margins slowly tighten. The available options slowly shrink. The system is functioning. The authority over that system is not functioning in the same way anymore. The spacecraft still answers, but command no longer feels like command. It feels like negotiation with distance. The mission survives through patience, through estimates, through waiting. And on the telemetry screens, fresh data continues arriving from a spacecraft that is working exactly as expected, while the people responsible for it become less certain of what happens between each report. The signal returns, but control does not return with it. A deep space antenna remains locked on target. The transmission arrives. The data is decoded. Fresh telemetry appears on the screens. The process still works. That is what makes the final reality harder to ignore. The work continues. So does the distance. The spacecraft keeps moving outward. The power available to operate it continues to shrink. The options available to manage it continue to narrow. Yet the signal still arrives. Contact remains possible. Connection does not. For years, communication was treated as proof of control. Now communication proves something else. The spacecraft is operating beyond the pace of human authority. Commands still leave Earth.
Voyager
Responses still return. But between those two events sits a gap that can no longer be removed. The mission does not end. It evolves into something different. A living machine continues its journey. Humans continue listening. Humans continue sending commands.
Data packet successfully
Neither
received.
side stops.
Spacecraft telemetry remains locked
The
in
signal
past.
returns, but control does not return with it.